over the past 6 weeks, Joe Biden has been running his presidential campaign from his basement. The presumptive Democratic nominee has held at least 15 live streams from his Delaware home.
Former Vice President Joe Biden has made history. He has now surpassed his former running mate Barack Obama for the most votes ever received in a presidential election. That's without the final numbers in yet.
President Biden got right to work hours after taking the oath of office. He signed 17 executive orders ranging from mask mandates to actions on global warming.
Today, I'll be shortly signing an additional package of executive actions.
So there's not going to be any delay on the tax increases?
No, well, I got to get the votes. That's why, the one thing that I have this strange notion. We are a democracy. Some of my Republican friends and some of my Democratic friends even occasionally say, well, if you can't get the votes by executive order, you're going to do something. Things you can't do by executive order unless you're a dictator. We're a democracy. We need consensus. Now I'm going to go over to this desk and sign these executive actions. Things you can't do by executive order unless you're a dictator. This first executive order.
President Biden signed 10 more executive orders. That makes 27 orders or actions in just a day and a half, and more are coming.
Things you can't do by executive order unless you're a dictator. Next executive order.
Mr. Biden signed nearly 30 executive orders in his first 3 days in office.
President Joe Biden has signed 33 executive actions in his first 6 days of office, one of them revoking the permit needed for construction of the Keystone pipeline.
Things you can't do by executive order unless you're a dictator. This executive order I'm signing.
Just hours into his presidency, Joe Biden signed 17 executive actions.
And with the executive order I'll be signing today, we're a democracy. We need consensus. Third executive order.
Day one comes with a list of executive actions to reverse and repeal some of former President Donald Trump's policies.
President Biden signed executive orders on a broad range of issues, from the coronavirus pandemic to immigration to revoking a permit for the Keystone pipeline.
This morning, lawmakers are concerned, saying the cancellation will lead to thousands of job losses, the same positions they claim Biden promised to protect.
Millions of Americans don't have jobs right now. But with a single shaky signature, Joe Biden just put another 11,000 people out of work in this country. Just like that.
Things you can't do by executive order unless you're a dictator.
The executive order is among a flurry of moves by the Biden administration during its first full week.
He's not going to have this pot of goodwill that often goes when you've got a third of the public that doesn't believe you're the legitimate president.
Well, some of these executive orders are designed to encourage more mask wearing, adding to the one signed yesterday.
Although Biden did not adhere to an executive order he signed yesterday mandating masks on federal lands when he spoke at the Lincoln Memorial on federal land.
I will give my all to you.
Why weren't President Biden and all members of the Biden family masked at all times on federal lands last night if he signed an executive order that mandates masks on federal lands at all times?
He was celebrating an evening of a historic day in our country.
President Biden has long claimed Republicans will have an epiphany and jump at the chance to work with him.
The president has no plan. He hasn't laid out anything. He knew all the way back in February how serious this crisis was as this pandemic rages on, because there's nothing we can do to change the trajectory of the pandemic in the next several months.
President Biden made it clear on Friday his team is taking the pandemic head on.
Did nothing. He waited and waited and waited. He still doesn't have a plan. Well, I laid out back in March exactly what we should be doing. And I laid out again in July what we should be doing.
Because there's nothing we can do to change the trajectory of the pandemic.
You should get out of your bunker and get out of the sand trap and get in your golf course and go in the Oval Office and bring together the Democrats and Republicans and fund what needs to be done now to save lives. Because there's nothing we can do to change the trajectory of the pandemic in the next several months. And the president still doesn't have a plan. He's given up. He's quit on you. He's quit on your family. He's quit on America.
There's nothing we can do to change the trajectory of the pandemic in the next several months, quoting the president. Haven't we been told for several months that restrictions and mandates were necessary to change the trajectory of the pandemic in the next several months?
By the way, nobody and some of you are going to get mad at me with this, but nobody is going to be deported in my first 100 days. In the first 100 days of my administration, no one will be deported at all.
Biden also instructed the Department of Homeland Security to halt deportations of illegal aliens. And when we say illegal aliens, and by the way, pretty soon we won't be allowed to say illegal aliens because it'll be hate speech and therefore illegal.
Federal judge has just blocked President Biden's deportation freeze. This marks the first legal challenge to President Biden's immigration policy.
A federal judge in Texas is temporarily putting the brakes on one of President Biden's first actions on immigration. The judge has blocked a 100-day pause on deportations that went into effect on Friday.
Roughly when do you think anyone who wants one would be able to get it? Is it summer? Is it?
Oh, I think it'll be this spring. I think we'll be able to do that this spring.
What the president's goal is ensuring that there's greater availability in the spring. But the fact is, every American is not going to be eligible this spring.
Oh, I think it'll be this spring. I think we'll be able to do that this spring.
The fact is, every American is not going to be eligible this spring.
I feel good about where we're going, and I think we can get it done.
Biden says he also wants to replace the entire government fleet of vehicles with electric cars made in America.
Unity and healing must begin with understanding and truth, not ignorance and lies. Next executive order